chat. I am here with my wonderful pilots. Let's go our first wit. Nikhil.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil. I played the role of Otto Dhruva, also known as Dhruvacharya Chandrasekhar Ramanayana. I did look it up again because I can't say it full otherwise. I play D&D, being a DM for quite some time, and now a player with for all of you to enjoy. So yeah, there you go.
Except, looking fabulous today, Asis.
Hi friends, I'm Asis. I play Garima, the purple Yanta, not ranger. And I exist on the internet and I do things and I'm generally a menace to people's lives.
Ooh. Next up, the menace with a million voices, Tan.
I guess we're all menaces today. Hello. I play the role of Rajiv, who is the black not a ranger, and I usually run a lot of games on the Desis&Dragons server and a couple other places. And beyond that, I just do random writing things and voice things.
And our greatest enabler of chaos. Let's hear it from Maitreyi.
Hi everyone, I'm Maitreyi. I played Alicia, the Crimson Ranger, and basically just made everyone's life a little more difficult. And I'm Maitreyi plays games on YouTube and Maitreyi Games on Twitter. If you're looking for a little bit of a different take on tabletop content with regards to engagement and behavior and all that good stuff, you should check my stuff out.
And back from the dead and Canada, we have Kaz, the DM.
Hello, I'm Kaz the DM. I stream art and D&D stuff on Twitch. I'm up by to post my stuff on Instagram, Twitter, and I played Deepa or DC on and was the white Lady of the Yanta.
Exactly. Of course, there's going to be spoilers for this for the entire season, so I hope you've watched it. Otherwise, this is going to be very awkward, especially that last comment was a joke. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. So go watch that if you haven't seen it. But yes, thank you for joining us. We do have exciting announcements about the future of Desis&Dragons, our next project. But first, now let's talk about what we just did. Our first sponsored campaign, our first one with a brand new cast of wonderful Daisies that I was so lucky to have. All of these guys who I invited to the show, basically like, come on, be into weird Power Ranger stuff set in the 70s. Come on. And all of them were either too polite, were so polite that they say yes, or were really into it. We'll find out which is which as I ask you guys. Well, I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions. You guys are going to be asking me questions. If chat has questions, post them down there, and Shubham, our ghost in the machine, will message it to me so I can see what's happening. But yeah, my first question is, anyone can ask this first. What made you say yes to my crazy pitch?
Power Rangers.
Literally that.
Megazord.
Honestly, but my answer might be a little bit different. Because this was the first table where I was not a visible minority. And the opportunity to play with a bunch of other daisies was just it didn't fucking matter what we played. It didn't matter what we played. It was an added bonus that we got to play a Fate game, which is a system I've been desperately wanting to play. But honestly, I would have said yes to fucking Monopoly.
Yes. Monopolies with DCs is a terrifying endeavor.
Really?
Oh, very good.
Nobody actually likes Monopoly. Like, can we all agree that that's the case? No, Kaz, I'm sorry. I
ignore that.
Reject your reality.
my bite loves Monopoly, and he's a banker. Yeah.
Everything okay?
It's fine.
Monopoly in his background for ironic reasons.
It's just there. It's been there for years.
Just so everyone would know, I prefer Voltron more over Power Rangers. Hot take. But that was my inspiration. But saying that, I have watched all 21 seasons of it, and the recent one, what is it, Dino Charge? I've seen that as well. So yeah, what am I doing with my life? I don't know. So yeah.
I don't know.
I
We want to also just quickly, Kaz, we'll get back to you. Thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Nicole, for the subs.
thank you.
Really, it's really nice. Yeah. Sorry, Kaz, what were you
Yay.
saying?
I got one
I
of
was
them.
gonna. I was gonna say how like I think going on to Maitreyi's answer the main thing for me was Power Rangers, but also like when I saw the group together, it was like, oh shit, this like everyone was just so fun, and it was nice to be with people like I think we can all agree like just people like us, and that was a very nice bonus. Which
That was
I
like-
think like it was expected, to be fair, 'cause, like that was part of the
Also,
Yes.
Chirag, you're pretty great, I guess.
Thank you. That's fair. You never played with me before, so it's like you.
But
you're
I've
lucked
seen
out that
you.
was a
I
good
think
DM.
we've
Keeping
all.
you around.
I've definitely seen you on these.
I've only played with you once before this, and you were a player with me that one time. So
True.
it was very fun
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, the one
Chirag,
multiverse game.
Yeah.
Oh, you remember this.
Oh, of course I remember. I played that I need Tan in the game. After that, I thought I mixed up the date, and I thought anyway. But it's like I was like, oh my god, he is available, and so I managed to grab you. So that was fun. That was good. Yeah, that's the part of the reason we wanted to do Desis&Dragons because a lot of times when you're an Indian playing it, you're the minority. You're like the only one on the table who's Indian, and just like it's a different energy when everyone's Indian. And like when I first came to India and was playing with all Indians, it did definitely feel different. I'm like, am I too white for this table? And then I was like later on, no, it's fine, it's fine. And then I came here like, it's all lovely brown, oh lovely different shades.
Oh my.
The feeling's very mutual because whenever I go for streams, when I was in Paris at the time, we go for streams. I would turn off my video because I like when you're like the minority, you always feel like, hey, the focus is going to be too much on you at times because you're brown, and that feeling had been there, like whether I would mingle with the crowd well or whether they would just interact with me because of my minority status. So that would hurt a lot. So I would turn off my
Yeah.
video all the time.
That's so interesting because like I personally I've never felt like that on that side, like feeling the attention was drawn on me. But that could be because one, on like my accent, but also like having like where I grew with the people I grew up with, like it wasn't highlighted. That's interesting. Very interesting.
Most of my tabletop stuff was like purely Desis, like just friends and stuff around. So I never had to experience that. But every now and then when there were like non-Desi players, like it was the other way around. There was like one or two in that case. That's
awesome,
very
man.
interesting.
Yeah, I think like had a very lot of just IRL games and a little bit of online games with like just only bases and like one game with a bunch of like white people and nothing like this is the first time I'm ever like playing a game like for people to actually be able to watch. Like all of my games that I've played till now have all been private. So I mean that was one thing that drew me in. But like I do appreciate not being the whitest Desi in the Desi group for once.
Relatable.
We don't need to say who is the whitest one. That's for chat.
Yeah, let's just
That's fine.
It could be anyone.
A poll later. I'm kidding. Don't put up a poll. Don't. All right. I don't want to lose.
We need a poll now.
Next.
Can't do it.
I feel like
God.
I feel it's very skewed in one direction.
Oh, hilarious.
Moving on from that very quickly. So excellent. We managed to get all of you guys. Managed to get you guys in on the pitch. Once I told you the pitch, we know Voltron was a little bit of inspiration for Nikhil. What were the inspirations for your characters? Like, what did you pull from? Did you pull just from the time period? Did you pull from some Sentai or Power Ranger that inspired you? Did you pull from something more personal? What kind of pulled you? Nikhil, you're jumping off your seat. You go first.
Oh no, that's because Kaz gifted me. So, like the dude bro he is, he gifted me. So yeah, gotta thank him.
Beautiful compliment. You are.
Yeah, it just like he did anonymously, but it just went to me. I'm like, oh wow,
I know,
that's
like.
great.
Nice.
So Right. So it was Voltron. Definitely, Voltron was the source of inspiration, and I went with the mixture of like the yellow Voltron that is Hank and Pidge. So a mixture of both, like the awkwardness of Pidge and the warm-heartedness of Hank, and just mush them up together. Then I played off with Chirag with one of the movie ideas, like of the 70s. It was like I think it was 70s, right?
I
That
think so. The one, the movie you called from was from the 70s.
Yeah, so it was like there was the evil twin over there as well. So that is where we pulled it from, because around that time the common trope of evilness, because of budget cost, was like let the villain be the actor himself. Like okay, cool, let's bring that trope in. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when you had that coming in, yeah, I thought I tried to make it a. Were you caught off guard? Did you think we wouldn't have time to do that?
Oh yeah, I thought of like okay, yeah, it would be skipped off, but in my mind when you were setting up slowly, I was like, it could be a possibility, but I'll just keep cards on the table just for it, be ready for it. But yeah,
Yeah, that was good. Let's go. Who wants to go next and say what inspired their character? Okay, I'm gonna pick then.
Kaz seems to have a.
yes.
Daz, you laughed. You go. Yeah, what? Yeah. Where'd you pull from to get DC?
I pulled for myself. It's all up here. No, jokes aside, I was very much a self-insert character because I mean those two things. I mean, look,
Crazy.
I love
What's
Power
that
Rangers.
like?
Oh, I love
Oh,
the double swing. Perfect.
Made
But,
it work.
There we
That's
go.
good. But yeah, no, I mean, so like the main part of like DC's whole character arc and character is very much because I feel very disassociated from the Indian community. So this was almost like me stepping in and like trying to like experience it like as someone from the outside, but like also on the inside. Like that like second is it second generate? I can't remember what it's called. Where like you're part of two cultures, but like you don't feel like you're
Sure.
both. And so it was me just like being me in that sense. Like that's how I feel IRL. But then also I thought it'd be very interesting to play that character that's just excited about everything and so wants to learn. Because I think like you need that character. If no one else will do it, you do it. So you touch the thing.
It did feel a lot like that, especially when we were doing the individual episode. When we were like, "What's his job? What's his universe? What was he doing in university?" You were like, "Okay, and you were like, because you're pulling he has an artistic degree. He's like studying something artistic, and like those kind of things. That's why I think it got so emotional because you picked something very close, close to your character. Yeah, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. And I definitely felt that as someone who has also experienced like I don't really fit in. And it took me. I've been here for 7 years now, on and off, straight. I mean, I come and go earlier, but like long period of time working about 7 years. So it's like I get that. I got that a lot. So it resonated with me. If I had feelings, I'd be breaking down in tears right now.
You do have feelings, Chirag. We all know that. You're
just
such
hiding
a
them.
soft
You're crying
DM.
inside.
You're a soft DM. You're crying already.
Moving from soft DM. Well, Asis, what inspired your character?
It was a mix of things. I mean, so like a lot of times, I think in RPGs, when I decide to play a character, it's really just whatever the first thing is that pops into my head. So like, I thought, and I'm not used to playing ground like humans, and I escape humanity when I play RPGs usually. So playing a human, I had to think what kind of human I want to be. So I think the first thing that came to me was just like, okay, college student, because that kind of felt like the right zone to be in. And then from there on, that just kind of built that, like, if I'm playing someone in academia, a woman in academia in like 1970s India, and I mean, I had to go with a weird subject because it would be boring if it was just something normal. I thought that then like it makes sense to kind of explore the whole sexism aspect because it was a very real part of like just being at that level at that point. Like, so I think there was some of that and some of just just general character tropes and like specifically like Power Ranger tropes. You have certain archetypes within the Rangers of like
Mm.
we were clearly going with like, okay, we had a protective one, we have a hyper one, we have a like the bruiser. So I think like I kind of fit. I found the niche that okay, my character is going to be the like not very fighty, more of a
The heart.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and also like my whole the bear thing, like the purple thing, the bear thing that was called like the bear, like basically my favorite Zords. All of my favorite Zords throughout the Power Ranger series are the ones which are like animals, but they look slightly funky and can do like some sort of special thing. Like, I think like Wild Force. I'm going to get into Power Rangers slower. I'm very sorry, but like Wild Force had a lot of those things where like you had all these auxiliary animals which would like just attach as like some sort of device. I think a lot of the dinosaur series have also have that. Dino Thunder definitely did. I haven't seen Dino Charge or the other ones, but
Mm.
like I browse my wikis. I know that the Zords have that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that
your Zord
and
gave me the.
what?
No, I was gonna say your Zord gave me like the Wild Force vibes.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
was like Wild Force was like one of the like my I guess my golden era of Power Rangers for me was Wild Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder.
Ninja Storm.
So
My heart.
I pulled a lot. And Ninja Storm's
Oh.
always my favorite. And like I think the last thing was that like so like why I went with purple specifically. Like, okay, purple and yellow are my favorite colors. If Nikhil had not gone for khaki, I would have gone for yellow. I would have been boring. The moment Nikhil went for khaki, I was like, okay, I should adhere to the Power Rangers colors. I should take like one of the colors that are normal for Power Rangers to take. And then I thought about Dino Charge.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry. I wish I could have given
no,
back.
it's hilarious. But like, if anybody's seen or even read up on Dino Charge, they have like a turquoise ranger, a blue ranger, and a violet ranger, and a magenta ranger. Like all these other random, like they just decided they're going to go wild with the colors. So I thought, yeah, best time to have a purple ranger, especially if they're also going with khaki. And then like I'm like I think I'm very happy with how unconventional our color formation was.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to grit my teeth through it, but it got fun. I got used to it and I got over it. And it became a lot of fun having that thing. And purple's fine as a ranger color. Jungle Fury had it, like you said, Dino Charge had it, like that. So purple exists. It's not a problem. It's not
Chirag, you're
fine.
feeling an emotion
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
Resentment's an emotion,
Nerd
right?
rage.
See?
There we go.
See?
Nerd rage.
Soft DM. Soft DM.
There we. All right then. All right then. Tan, what inspired your character? You spoke up.
Oh, man. It's like
Immediate
classroom
punishment.
rules.
Yeah,
You
I'm
make
glad-
eye contact with the teacher for too long.
I hate it. Well, it's
I'm glad I
impossible.
went
We're on a.
first. I'm glad
It's
I went
impossible not
first.
to.
Well, for me, it was a couple of things as well. Like, firstly, in all of these, like, Power Rangers and any kind of a mecha, honestly, and like they all have those tropes, and I wanted to, for once make a character that isn't just edgy chaos, because that's what I always end up making without realizing it. So I wanted to make an actual, wholesome anchor in a way. And then I was like, what if he's older? Because that's like a little like fun idea of, having a bunch of like, these young heroes, and then there's this one old guy who's just he's done his part already, and this is like a second trip for him. And then with the setting we had in the 70s and all, I was like, that kind of works out, because then my writing comes in and I naturally give him some trauma. But it's like just, there's so many wars happening around that time period, so many like people coming out of the aftermath during that time period, and like desertion and actually like just things of running away, like a character that kind of goes into that mind space and kind of explores that why would someone do that and how would they like deal with it afterwards. like the general like survivor's guilt kind of a vibe. And on top of that, then a bunch of my own like personal self-insert characteristics kind of got flooded into him, which was just like the general the general annoyance at certain things, while also feeling that need to, like, regardless of all of that, be there and help and protect and all of that stuff. And it was a fun way to balance inserting someone in that time period who also had some pieces of myself in it. Yeah, it was fun.
It's nice
Rajiv
having-
reminds me. Sorry, Rajiv reminds me of Ducky Kruger a lot. Like I know when I think like the first episode, I was, oh, it's him.
It's him.
Yeah,
It's
I
him.
think that it echoed all of the like Doggy Kruger and also
Like the father figure one, or like the
yeah.
the leading one,
Mystic
like
Force,
Power Rangers.
the dad in Mystic Force.
For me, in Voltron, it would be Keith. Not Keith. Shiro. Shiro is the Black
Yeah.
Ranger, the original Black Ranger, and he would be this really old militaristic person who would take these young teenagers and bring them together. It really resonated hard because it was like, God,
him.
it's him. It's really him. And at the same time, I went into the most annoyance relationship with Rajiv at the same time.
But
Like,
it ended so like naturally
It
also.
was
Like,
so delightful.
I like
became
I like
wholesome.
I like that the kind of triangles that you guys had friction with each other, but you were both very close with DC. And then when DC was gone,
Yeah.
you guys became really close together. Like you were
Exactly.
so joined. Like everyone was felt by the loss, but you guys felt really really bonded over and had like the biggest emotional things going on, which was a nice kind of evolution. And I liked that you chose to play an uncle who was fed up with these teenagers with attitude, which is good. We need someone like
Yeah,
that.
and it gave me like a thread to connect with each of the players, like because with each and every one, Rajiv had a different relationship. Soft spot for Daisy, respect, and a certain level of just I need to make sure she doesn't go off the
Concern,
rails kind
yeah.
of a like thing with Alicia. With Garima also, it was just like this way, like nice soft like thing where Rajiv would be like, yeah, she's not a violent person, and
She must be
that
protected
needs to
at all
be
costs.
like not everyone is violent in this group, and that needs to be nurtured. Like, so there was like all of these little things. It was a very fun experience to like interact with everyone because of it.
And hiding in the back of the class, hoping the teacher doesn't notice her. Maitreyi, what inspired Alicia?
backbencher
I
as
mean,
usual.
I was I was teasing Kaz with self-insert and had mentioned it as well, but like legit, and like the reason I was teasing you just now is because my character was a completely self-insert character. I don't know what it is about this group or this game specifically, but like it's fucking robots and big monsters. Like I shouldn't have felt so authentic in my character choice, and I did. It felt incredibly real for me. And couple things inspired my character choice. One is that I very firmly believe every tabletop group needs like someone who'll just kick down the door without waiting to talk about it. And I really love playing that kind of character. so that was one part of it. With regards to Alicia's specifics, on a personal note, I've been spending a a lot of time lately, like thinking about like intersectionality and feminism and that kind of thing. And I thought it would be really interesting to sort of like play someone who was in the thick of the feminism movement in the early days of it being sort of organized in any kind of effective way. In the 70s as well, India had the Bhopal gas tragedy, and one of the reasons that it happened was that factory owners and management didn't listen to the women who had been complaining about it for like the previous 3 years. And it felt like the perfect storm of exploring that personal interest which I got to do. And one of the things that we didn't have too much of a chance to touch on during the game because there's so much other cool stuff happening. But one of the links that Alicia had with Kaz was this kind of well, what are you guys doing for feminism
other
like
side?
out west? Like what's happening out west? And there was this feeling of like it must be inherently better for reasons I can't really articulate. And I think a lot of brown women kind of felt that like earlier on, and it's only over the last maybe 20 or 30 years that we're kind of arriving at this point that like it can be different and it can exist, but it's not better inherently for any reason. And so it's that aspect of it that I've really wanted to have her have that journey of like feeling
terms.
incorrectly that it was better, and she's like, no, what I'm doing here matters, my voice matters, my sister's voices matter. And like I'm disappointed we didn't get to explore that too much, but like I said, there was so much other stuff that we did, and that was again like to the point, like that was something that we had ideated like 8 weeks ago before the game actually started. And when the game started, it took a different and like equally emotionally equally wonderful direction. So I'm really glad we ended up doing the things we did end up doing. I don't feel a gap at all. But Chirag, to answer your question about Alicia, like that was what it was.
Yeah. I like to think when you as a player for Alicia, you were like bringing in lots of everyone else had like Power Ranger references, Voltron references, all these kind of things, and you were like, no, this is historical stuff, and you were pulling like from the history. And so when I said things like, oh, the miners' strike, George Fernandez, you would know, like, oh, I would know this, and I have a character who would be aware of the politics, so it's like I recognize who that individual is. So it's someone who's like, all my research is not wasted because someone else notices that and can call me out on a he can call me out or say yes, he's right, and just like have that little bonus.
I love that you had George Fernandez. I love that you had I love that you had the train strike. Like that was just like I said, man. There's just a feeling of authenticity about this game, and it was great.
I picked that time period for a very specific reason, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But I like the one thing that you said that you were very open, very vulnerable. We had two people, actually a lot of people, like put a lot of themselves into the game, and it's just like I don't know whether it's because you were surrounded by other brown people or because you felt safe in your giant robots that you could be you could be vulnerable. Like I'm safe because I'm in a giant robot of love.
Well, I got pissed actually. For
Inside the big robots, it's just us.
During the Russian Ranger arc, I really got pissed because like
that was so great.
Yeah, I genuinely got pissed. I was like, I gotta tear it up. And then the moment came, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna tear that up.
I was actually in shock when that happened because like I thought like you were happy like about we can be like secret about it.
No,
like no, they're probably like oh shit.
Initially, I misheard. I heard it as like they drew pictures of us, and I was happy because of it.
Yeah.
But when I came to know it was like the Russian Rangers, I was like, oh no.
No,
that's not good. That's not good.
Our brave Soviet fighters. Look at them. Obviously, Indians couldn't do it. And you were like, fuck no. Fuck no.
I mean, like,
Indians can do it just as well.
For me, it was when he started to, like, the guy started to backtalk, like, all of the, like, players. And, like, if I'm, like, in the, like, Rajiv helps us, I'm like, you don't fucking do that. Like, you don't do that into my face.
I loved, like how everyone kind of turned up in that moment, though. Like,
yeah,
like you fuck with one of us, you fuck with all of us, kind of thing.
That's also Chirag targeting all of us individually.
Yeah,
I found the nerve.
Pushing all our buttons to make us fight him.
Everything you plucked everything.
I was like, I gotta bring them to a point where they fight or flight. Let's see how they go. And I was like, Alicia's gonna start something, and like, oh, someone else started something. Great.
Yeah, because he called Rajiv a coward.
What the hell, man?
And I thought I was going to respond first with a bottom smash, but Rajiv did anyway. I was like, yeah, I'm following up with that.
I think it's interesting in that moment. I think like DC would have been like more flighty, but I was also very surprised. Like it's kind of like if it's not targeted at him and his friends, I think like he would defend. And I think I don't know if you showed in the backstory where like he was more flighty.
I like that even by the second week, you guys had this strong sense of family. Like, hey,
Mm.
it's not like, oh, I met this guy last week. I don't really go. It was like, no, I will throw down with a bunch of randos on this roof if I have to. I will explode.
Damn
I don't know my
right.
powers.
That was
I realized with Garma also, like, again, she would be more flighty, but like definitely by the second week already, like by the time we got to that
Yes,
party,
mm.
I had got a real feel for like just how connected like all these characters are. And then it was more a thing of, okay, Garima will not like be fighting, but she's not gonna just let basically her family get like destroyed like this. And
Mm.
I think that with the alcohol, I found like the perfect way to just like get her in that thing.
Yes, alcohol, the
Going-
solution and cause of all of life's problems.
Going back to like the feeling of authenticity and like the whole like feeling of family, I think like it helped that like we all just got on so well
Yeah.
from the very beginning. And like I think it kind of like because we all kind of were playing a lot of ourselves in these characters. I think almost like the time in between was like made like, oh, that would have been us bonding anyway. Like I think you could tell between sessions there was a lot of like backstory and a lot of like friendship and like a family bond between all the characters through those downtime moments where there was no stream. Like even if it wasn't
kind
like
of
time
love
in the
that we'd
past.
established that ahead of time, even like
Yeah.
of like what kind of relationship you guys
Mm.
have before this
Yeah.
moment in the game.
That's
Like that
it's,
was great.
it's interesting though, talk like I've run streamed games before where like players like have backstory, but like and like I'll do chemistry one shots with them to like kind of build that chemistry. But like we didn't do that, and like I felt like we almost captured it better than most of those chemistry one shots,
Yeah.
where it felt just so natural from the ground up.
Yeah,
And I
like,
think that was
I feel like all the players
Yeah.
just like gelled in to begin with. So like when
Mm.
it came to actually making the characters mesh together, we were already on the same page about it for
Yeah.
the most part.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it was
feel
just
like the session zero in that sense was kind of like a chemistry on shot because
exactly.
I think by the time we started like figuring out what our relationships are to each other, like I was also feeling out then what kind of chemistry I have with all of you like playing these
Yeah.
characters. Like,
Yeah.
That session zero is very important. Anyone watching who doesn't do session zeros, do session zeros because
Mhm.
that's can help people. Without I don't know whether we just brought the right energy to that or whether you guys just for some reason trusted me. That was your own mistake and just like let yourself be really open at session zero. But there was like a lot of that kind of connection, that kind of like figuring out. Were you any of you guys messaging each other without telling me to help like establish background stuff?
Only once
No,
with
it was
as like, but just mainly like whether to establish the dude bro properly.
Yeah.
But that's
that's
pretty much it.
awesome.
And that was also like post the first session, not even like session
Yeah,
zero.
like,
It
exactly.
was-
Like, it was like it kind of just happened in the first session. I think
Yeah.
the closest to like pre-session chat was like with Tan and Chirag
Yeah.
about our characters' relationships, and like even then, like it was meant to be very vague because like I mainly because I didn't know like how our characters would interact in the first place.
Yeah.
But then everything just like fell so nicely and neatly. into
Exactly. Like
place.
because that's why I was really like just during the sessions again it just happened to fit in so well that like there was that much like trust between the players where I would just like drop a piece of information or I would say something and I would get a yes handed in the perfect way from the other person. I would like just automatically establish that
Mm.
bond and hint at enough of a backstory and then we just build
Yeah.
off of that.
But like I
It's
don't
like
think it,
improv. It's
Pardon?
like the improv relationship, right? So
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
you give one information, we catch on to it, and then we establish that bond over and over. And that's what that happened very quickly in session one. And we just then like made it like a strong thing moving forward. So yeah,
Yeah.
the dude bro thing really
Mm.
developed from session one. From there, yeah, that was fun.
Like, yeah, I think like we knew how we only had 4 sessions, and so it was like we we'd had to have a lot of it like pre-established or at least hinted to, so like it didn't need to come up as long as it felt natural and like there was that backstory.
Exactly.
I think it's kind of expected. Like we weren't going to dive into a lot of it because I know a lot of us had like, or like I know I didn't personally, but I assumed everyone else. Like I know like for like Alicia, there was like ambition with like wanting to do some more like related to the feminism side and the history side of things. And but like as long as that was established, it didn't need to like be brought up 100%. But like as long as it was like aware and like it was something that like drove the character, it was very understandable both for viewers and for our characters and players.
Yeah, like that's what I did. Like, because like there was a bit of a traumatic past for Rajiv. Like he had like a whole aspect of the whole desertion and the war and the things he saw there. But like through the whole like campaign, like we didn't like talk about it specifically. We never like sat and like just heard the whole thing. So like that also opened up a lot of opportunities. Like when the first kaiju shows up, I'm like, I'm familiar with that, something like that, or like just putting on the dog tags, like small things that establish that okay, this is his deal. Or even that situation with the fight where Professor Bezra was just like, yeah, I know what you did, you deserted and stuff. Like so all of that like put together like gave an idea of the backstory without unpacking the backstory.
Yeah,
and I think that like ranked up
was
everyone.
because you guys all role played so beautifully, but were there was it part of your aspects at all? Like, had you put it in like mechanically? Yeah.
There was the initial like with there was like the initial like my 2-1-2 were with Alicia and like having that like two sides of the same coin, like while like
yeah
the feminism side, because like I know we
Yeah.
wanted to establish that like relationship, and there was also with Otto, our friendship.
Yeah. So, and also with the trouble aspect for me was me being hesitant, which I think was on episode 3 where I enacted it, where I was hesitant to make a choice. That was due to because of my past. I have established it over there and made it work mechanical wise with the backstory into the game. But also, speaking of which, I was very front forward with Chirag with being vulnerable, and I told him just go wild with it, just literally. On like I gave him a full backstory. I'm hoping this might go well because you can exploit and stuff, and I literally gave him on a silver platter.
Oh,
Does it
same. I
work?
was like, I have war trauma. Please do what you want.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could do it. I was like, I could go at this in different ways, especially because we had the unfortunate, Kathy. I'm like, I can go after these guys for different reasons. First, I targeted with Bezra, who's just like a knowledgeable misogynist old man who might know these things, and be like,
I
you failed.
maintain, man. Bezra's the real bad guy. I maintain that.
Two antagonists.
The
Don't
real
worry,
bad
we'll
guy
do it for
doesn't.
you.
The real bad guy doesn't come to a portal and gets a commission by Kaz at the end. No, the real bad guy is
Just
the
setting me
guy.
that
Is
off.
the misogynist. Yeah, no, Kaz is drawing Professor Bezra right now, just with frowny faces everywhere. No, yeah.
Like if like there's a lot of sequel potential, I guess, in like Bezra
Yeah.
actually getting possessed by like Ravana or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be possessed. He could play up as like the
Oh.
mundane bad guy who is just like, well, we can't trust these guys. He's a crazy youth.
Yeah, like
all these
one
kind
of
of
like
things.
those, like one of the duo like minion characters that like keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opposite
Yeah.
Rajiv. Basically,
And,
yeah.
And then
The
Bhuvana
anti-Rajiv.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bhuvana
exactly.
also being the side plot, like he ran away. So like that's like the another Blair Crump. So
Exactly. Oh yeah. Your brother ran away. That's true. That was a good time. And yeah, no, that was I could target that because of those reasons, and I brought it back when when DC died again. It was like you were losing a little soldier in arm, brother in arms at that point. So it was just like, guys, this is why when I insisted for fate, because if you see the system, there's 5 aspects. I insisted 2 of the aspects are related to another player because that means you care about that person. They are an integral part to you. That's the important thing of aspects. You like take the part of the backstory and you make it mechanically important. Like it's important because of this. Like I learned how to be a soldier because I lost people in war. I learned how to, eat chili because of these kind of things, and because I'm with this friend who taught me. So it's just like having those kind of connections, and that aspect Kaz had for DC, which was I've never felt I feel at home in the robot. That in the Yanta, I think I misspoke and I'm misquoting it, but it's essentially that energy that kind of inspired his end. Yeah. Like, how do you feel about being a Yanta pilot? That was another thing I thought was very important. Like, where you come from, what's your big trouble? Who are two people who've really impacted you among the other PCs? And three, how you feel about being in the giant robot? I felt those were the important things, and they really having those as integral parts of the characters mean that the players were keeping them in mind, because there are aspects your player remembers these things. It's not that random bit of backstory, an accent I need to remember. It's like, no, that thing. That is like an important part of me, and I need to try and bring it up into the story. So even though we didn't know the whole backstory for everybody, these elements were still important. These things were still good. So that's like a nice thing about the Fate system. Guys, give it a go if you get a chance. But yeah.
I had a question for you, Chirag. Was there someone actually following Rajiv, looking for him?
Why do you think someone was following Rajiv?
That was what I was going to ask. Is there like a sort of like a side plots that you have thought of for this short campaign? Like,
you mean?
Because you did tell me initially that there was someone looking for me.
Oh yeah, you're on the run. You're a deserter. So by default, someone's looking for you. Could that have person shown up if you made different choices? Maybe, but you did get out of town pretty early, and you pissed off Professor Bezra, who knows what you are. So he could have called someone, but you guys left town really quickly and went in a direction they had no idea. You went to Nepal. So if the guy was looking for you, you kind of skipped him. You went over to Delhi. I mean, so there is a chance if the guy's looking for you, he's gonna have trouble finding you. But it's like that's like season 2 shit. Which we're not saying there's a season 2, but that's one of the side plots that would be in season 2. But if there was someone looking for you guys are moving too fast for him to catch you with 1970s technology and a train strike. He can't catch you.
Yeah.
Fair.
Was there
I was like
anything
super
else?
paranoid while playing. I'm like, we have to be laying low, and I wasn't telling anyone else because I'm like, someone's following me. I can't share it, but
Yeah,
Oh
that's
man,
like,
that
no, get in the
explains
robot.
so much. I love it.
Yeah.
Whenever I was like, be quiet, don't do anything. No, we need to get out of here.
Oh man, I read that as just Roger's just typical concern, which is great because presumably that's how you wanted to play it off, so that's how it landed.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Nikhil, you had a question?
Wait. I have an attention span of a goldfish. Give me a moment.
That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. So it happens. It was something on the lines of So the side quest, was it something that you have you wanted to explore in this mini campaign, like something from our backstories?
Okay, from the backstory.
Or
There was
anything is fine.
There was an unfortunate thing in the first episode, as you know. Asis's internet had problems. We were having difficulty showing Asis. I really wanted Asis to be there because an anthropology student in a temple with Tokum would have been like, "Oh my god, you would have so much things to learn. You could have said all the exposition. You could have been like, look at all these kind of things, and have that kind of thing of being like, you could have shown that to Professor Bezra, like, look what I found. Look at this ancient society. But because of unfortunate, we weren't able to explore that element. That would have been fun to do. I guess Alicia, I think was good, very passionate, got trouble started, doing all that kind of stuff. I don't know if we played up enough the complicated relationship she had with her mentor, because it was a mixture of things. It was somewhat friendly, but also that she's a bit behind. She's not as progressive as you want her to be. As she had this this is not the right kind of women we want at this event. No, all women are the right kind of women. Yeah.
And but actually I'm guessing everybody here feels the same way because that's what we ended up playing. But as a player, as a person, I will always pick interparty interaction over like interaction with an NPC.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad we spend the time to flesh out our dynamic.
Yeah.
And like it's cool that like existed, and it was a really great hug for that first episode to kind of just get my feet wet. But after that, like the like complete like so many feelings that we all had in this group. Like it was great to kind of just play
Mm.
through that. So
I
I love that she existed, but I don't feel any gap in
Yeah.
not doing more
I'd-
with her.
I'd like to add on to that. I think I think it was more important that we had a more rounded relationship than like our relationship with any of the NPCs.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
like Nithya, for example, or
Oh, Nithya's the
Yeah,
best.
exactly, like-
I'm like in love with her.
she like her character like isn't
Mhm.
meant to be super dimensional because like we
Mhm.
haven't got time to spend to focus
Exactly.
on her story, but
Yeah.
she's there just to support. Like even Tokum, like he's the mystery of Tokum
Oh god.
makes him so interesting, but they're not like there
You-
to give the story. They're there to push our story.
Yeah.
And that was
I call them
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
basically just showed up to see Togum every week, guys. Sorry.
What the hell, man?
Truth comes out.
Yeah. Do you guys want to hear a secret about Togum?
I would
Yes.
love.
Tokum wasn't originally planned to be in the game, but then
Oh.
Shubham said, "Hey, you should have a guy. You should have like a person in there, like an NPC to kind of do exposition." Like, I don't know if that's necessary. And it's like, have one. I'm like, what should I have? What about? And then I was like, Alpha, from the first Power Rangers, the little robot guy. I'm like, let me make one. So like between session 0 and session 1, because he wanted me to have a pick through picture. So I'm like, okay. And I made it. I made 2 versions of the character, one with clothes and one without clothes, because I'm like, he wouldn't have clothes. He would have been buried,
Sure.
as a robot. And then afterward, he would have stolen your clothes.
I love
He's
how we
so-
all put our clothes on Tokum as well. So Tokum had a
Yeah.
piece of us with him, or with them, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you put him in.
I mean, some of you donated. He straight up stole Garima's earrings.
Yeah.
But the
I was
rest of you
fine
guys
with it.
donated.
I would also like.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He took my scarf and put it over his head. So I'm like, yeah, go for it.
I would like to know, Asis, your earrings are stunning. By the way, I love them.
Thank you.
They are so great. I've been admiring
So-
them like the last
I'm just
hour.
like she's the Riddler.
Yeah, but yeah, if you wanna know why Tokum exists, you can thank Shubham. He's always trying to get
Thank you,
robots
Shubham.
into our Desi series.
But it is also like the Power Ranger trope as well. Like in every Power Ranger, you have that central NPC. Even though they're not like the major head of the Power Rangers, they'd be like, "Hey, I'm just a side person. I can't do this, so you definitely only you can." So
Yeah.
that sort of person. But yeah, it's pretty cool that we got into that.
One of the things I would do to get into the voice of Tokum was go like, "Ay." But I never needed to say it on stream. But it was like, okay, in case I need to get there, that's my voice to get me
They
there.
had
Like,
they had the energy. Like I instantly like, oh yeah, this is our alpha. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad. Like
Oh.
it's like, what's a great opening line? Hi, please don't kill me. Oh, the creepy little robot.
imagine we just start kicking this shit into him. Hey yo, this kid just rose up from the coffin. Do you want to beat him up? Sure.
Like, we
really?
just roll up, we kill him, we
Metal-
take the mechs.
Really metal vampire. That's clearly what
Dhruva was
happened.
freaked out. Dhruva was absolutely freaked out on that because he's like, so the whole backstory of Dhruva is that he's very superstitious. So when he actually came to life, I was like, the gods were here and they're gonna kill me. And so that was when I played around, me screaming the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
I loved
Um,
also just the whole like superstition, like little joke that we had. Like, oh, is it a ghost? Is it alien?
Guns.
Yeah.
It's a government
The ghost
conspiracy.
thing was like, I loved it.
Yeah, that's like the funny thing. It turned out there were ghosts, and then the element that wasn't really explored is that the 10 heads were in the government, had conspiracies with the government. They weren't in the government, but they were manipulating different governments. So I'm like, you were right. It was all of those except aliens.
Where's that
Aliens
alien?
not
Yeah, I was
confirmed.
gonna say, where's that alien?
Aliens were not confirmed.
He came through a portal, what looks like space. I'm gonna say alien. Yeah.
He did come to a portal.
Extraterrestrial.
He could be extraterrestrial. You don't know the full details because that was one thing, not side plot, but like main plot. But I didn't have time. I wanted to take you guys from Delhi to a specific place in Rajasthan. I wanted
You
to
wanted
take
to
you
send
then.
us to space.
I wanted to take you guys to Pokhran, Rajasthan, which was the setting of the first the first peaceful Indian nuclear test called Smiling Buddha. It was like the first time they had like tested nuclear bomb for like energy purposes. And when it happened, they called the prime minister at the time. I think it was Indira Gandhi, and they basically said the Buddha is smiling, and I'm like, that's perfect, and tied in with the Buddha robots doing all that, and so that's where he would have been summoned. Where the big bad Ravana would have been summoned, it would have been a tougher fight, but then we have different things happening and all this kind of stuff.
He spent too long being in the fields.
There were different things, but what can be done? Well, we had more episodes than we planned. We had a one shot. We had like things, so it evened out in the end. And you guys didn't mind the fight with him.
Yeah, I think like although we didn't get to like go to all the places, I think it was still nice. Like the image in my head of Yanta's running through the Indian countryside is top tier.
That
Yeah.
is
He's
amazing.
running straight
That
to
was
Nepal, just-
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like somehow nothing is getting destroyed. Nobody is seeing them.
it's
And
Yeah, like
Fine.
this
doesn't matter.
empty wilderness we found all the way.
Yeah.
By the way,
Fine.
just
And, like-
I'm imagining my goat droid is just jumping around, just prancing
didn't I? Wasn't
about.
I?
Okay, no, but you established that your goat was being
Yeah,
carried. And I
I
think
picked
that's
you up.
a near thing.
Yeah, like you could run, you just didn't want to.
You could
Yeah.
run the fastest.
I'm
Yeah, but I
imagining,
didn't
like,
want to.
I imagine he's being picked up and the legs are still moving.
Yeah, in my head, like
Uh,
inside Otto's driving as if he's thinking he's driving the Yanta,
Yeah.
and like I think because like I picked up the goat. That's a vibe.
yeah.
So,
We have
also, we do have a few questions.
Yeah,
from
let's
the audience.
let's answer those. Sure. Do any of you struggle to stay focused during games? And if so, what do you do to counter it?
Yeah, definitely.
I-
That's my area. Obviously, like like it's very hard to pay attention, and it's even harder on a stream game, right? Okay, like my leg would be shaking. I'd be like, "Why is my leg shaking? My attention is switched over there." But then to come back into the game was like a bit of a chore. But it's eventually when it's better if you catch on to the last ends of the words, basically what the DM says. Even if once you get back into it, like the moment you get your attention back, just follow like the last few sentences, because usually wouldn't come to your turn until it's forced on you. And even if
Fair.
it's first, you can just tell that, hey, DM, can you repeat again? I lost out of it. They'll be happy to say that. They're just happy to repeat it. It's fine.
That's true. As someone whose mind is not a fish, it is Dory from Finding Nemo. It is. I also when I'm not the DM, I can get distracted quite a lot and just trying to get that like focus in and being like just trying to keep in my mind stuff that's going on. Like if I'm not able to pay attention, I want to like look at my character. I want to like focus on these things that are constructive to the game, so I can like try and keep. But there are little moments when I'm the DM. It's like the pressure is on, and I'm just like everything is like constructive to the game.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to you guys when I'm like, well, I am listening to you guys because that is a lot. Like, what are they saying? Are they exploiting
Is
a
that
weakness? Are they
it?
showing a
Freudian
weakness?
slip?
Are they showing a weakness? Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm listening for. I'm like, are they showing an
Yeah.
emotional weakness? I'm listening for that. Otherwise, I'm just double checking. Like, what? How do I pronounce that character's name? Why did I give them that name? Okay, fine. His name is Tokim. Okay, Tokim.
For me,
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm streaming, because I'm usually DMing on my side, I don't have much trouble like paying attention. I think because like I'm producing, I've got to keep focus and everything. But when like I'm playing, I've got one story act here. It's awful. I have a habit of working. I'm a freelance artist, who those that don't know. So I'll work while I'm play D&D normally, and I'll ask the DM if it's okay for me to work while while playing. And so I was doing this during a stream game, but I got very focused in on my work for like I think 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and they were calling me during those 10-15 minutes, and my brain was just focused in, and I was like, "Why is everyone not speaking?" I stopped for a moment. Hello, it's your turn. Like, I'm so sorry. And so now I don't work when like I'm, especially for like private games, I'll still work, but like I make sure it's okay with the DM. But with stream games, I like I'll just focus on chat and the game, because like I know if I get zoned in, I
Fair.
I think I found a very good lesson from this. If you want to be super focused, just be a DM straight on. Like you're sorted. You're
Jeez,
sorted.
man.
You
No
never.
kidding.
Honestly, that's
Yeah.
what helps me because usually I am always DMing, and that lets me kind of get a bit more like focused on just multitasking in general. Because like you're talking to
Mm.
people, you're looking at your notes, you're looking at their notes,
Yeah.
and like it just lets you handle a lot of things on your plate. And I feel like I just got used to that at some point, where even when I'm a player, obviously your mind will wander more as a player, especially when you're not directly engaged. And
Yeah.
what I end up doing is like one or two things. One is slightly annoying, but I still do it, which is I just try to immediately engage into the scene if I am present there. Where like I just pull at anything
Yeah.
there. I ask the DM like, okay, what can I see and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think I have a bad habit of that as well. I worry even like
Yeah.
now. Like I feel like I've been talking too much throughout this entire
Same.
conversation.
I
Whether I'm
feel that,
interrupting or not, whether I'm interrupting
Yeah.
too much or not, whether it's annoying the player, that sensation has always been there. But it's just mainly because I want to keep attention. It's not like I really want to interrupt. I just want to
No,
keep
I mean objectively, you're the worst. Like I think we all agree.
What the
Yeah.
hell?
And, like
What do you mean? He's gonna make
one
him
thing that
cry?
everybody knows about you is how unpleasant and unlikable you are.
Yeah.
No, don't
it's,
listen.
uh,
Don't listen
What
to
is
them.
wrong with you, man?
Nikhil, close your
Stop
ears.
stealing
Take your
my
headphones off.
IP.
Take your headphones off.
I-
quick.
I do.
I needed someone, to make Tan good. That's why you on the thing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There
No
you
one
go.
could make Tan look
No,
good.
he's not. It's the truth.
Honestly, like focus wise, I think I also had a lot of like similar things to Nikhil where it would like I lose focus very easily and then you do have to just kind of catch on to like what is being said and whatever. And like I don't think it's any like this is not a slight on the DM, but like there are just moments where my brain will focus more and moments where it will not. Um, but like in general, I feel like on a game where video is on, it's easier for me to focus. Because
Same.
I've
Yeah,
had
100%.
like
Yeah.
voice games where I like legit fall asleep at some point because I just
It's happened to me.
like I love the game and I'm having fun, but like I fall asleep. But yeah, I think DMing just completely stops that from happening because there's too much going on. From what little experience I have, I like my brain is firing in so many directions and they're all focused on the game.
Yeah, I'm
I hope that
totally
was
with you. When I'm running, yeah, not to echo like everyone here. When I'm running the game, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter if I'm streaming or I haven't streamed anywhere near any games that I've run, but for all the games that I have run, I'm like very focused on DMing, on GMing. For stream games, I like Kaz focus on the stream and the chat to a lesser extent because also like Kaz, I tend to get hyper focused. Like if I'm doing anything else, like that's the thing that I am garbage at multitasking. I am so bad at it. I can do one thing at a time and that's it. and I know that about myself in my near 40 years of being alive, so I won't put other people through that.
Yeah.
But
a lot.
when I'm playing private games, Grim as you said, but like when I'm playing private games, these days I'm a player in systems that I'm not super familiar with yet. So to the point that Tam was making earlier, like I'm looking at my character sheets, I'm looking for ways to sort of engage the game, either in a mechanic way or in a narrative way. So I may not 100% be focused on the game, but my direction is diverted to do like game stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we had a
Everyone-
question related. Sorry, go see anything?
No, I was saying everyone just saying I'm the Twitch expert and like it's like I've been,
I love it, man. It's so
We need
helpful.
one.
Yeah, twitching
Definitely.
helps. Twitching helps really like so much and to pay attention.
So,
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 2 years. I've gotten used to it. I almost I wanted to say earlier, when I stream Nini, I almost refer to OBS as part of my VTT.
Oh, nice,
Ah,
nice.
Like almost become part of the
Yeah.
system for me now.
Oh, that's
That's
another thing I
awesome.
would actually do. Like again, don't do any like stream games specifically, but if I am a player, I like if I feel myself losing focus, I quickly try to do something that makes other people engage and react to what I just did, and I spend that time refocusing myself.
Amazing.
Clever.
Oh my god, we got a
Oh.
hype train. So congrats, you guys.
Hype
Thanks for the hype
train!
train.
Ah!
Woohoo!
Hey. Hype
I
train.
saw that, Kaz.
I
I saw
didn't know what I
that.
wanted to do. I wanted to do hard, but I wanted to
I
dab at the
saw
same time.
whatever just
And so I
happened
just
there.
panicked.
Yes, started a new trend. The hype.
I was
The
like-
hype dab. The hype dab.
The hot dab, yeah.
Mm,
The hot dab.
it's
Ah,
skill. When you're a Twitch expert like me,
you're just a trendsetter. That's what you
We're
are.
all just trying to keep up with Kaz.
what can I say? I'm just too good at this.
Excellent.
Did you
we
pave
had
the way to new innovation?
I
a new
love
innovation.
it.
Everyone's going to be doing this on TikTok. I'm telling you. Give it 3 days.
Yeah, let's go.
If I get like
Oh,
one
no,
of those
it's
like
not this.
gifts
It's
made
this
of
and
me.
then this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
but it's gonna be a
Yes.
very lazy dab. Can
Yes.
someone make a gif of
Yeah.
that, please? My heart would be
Yeah.
Yes.
melting.
And send
if you
it to
do.
all of us, definitely. We had another question, which
Yeah, what
was,
is-
what are the systems you all play, and how does Fate compare to them? I think Maitreyi is probably, besides me, has played the most different systems and has like strong opinions.
I do have some opinions, which is so strange for me. But yeah, no, I think that probably the closest analog to Fate is Powered by the Apocalypse for PTA games, and I like Fate so much better, man. Like I like that similar concept of a narrative first story with cinematic combat and like less tactical, more narrative, like all of that stuff is the same, and that's why I consider an analog. But like the thing that Fate does better, in my opinion, is two things specifically. One is characterization. I don't love. I mean, the PBTA archetypes, the playbooks, like I get it, but it's PBTA is this weird mix of like somehow it works really well for veteran players, but they try to simplify it so much that it's like not really something that you can hold on to with any real strength in my opinion. So it kind of it tells you your bonds, it tells you your failures, it tells you basically how you're supposed to be approaching this role in your party. And with Fate, I didn't get that. Like you can kind of decide your archetype. My archetype was impulsive activist, but I got to decide what that meant for me in terms of my interaction with the party, in terms of how I presented that as a character. And in doing that, I didn't feel like I was playing the game wrong, you know? And so that's one thing. I really, really like the characterization in Fate so much more than I like it in PBTA. The second thing is that I had a second thing and I don't fucking remember what it was. So it must not have been that important. But okay, but yeah, so with regards to PBTA, that's my overall consensus if we're taking like a direct analog. I kind of struggled with Fate before this game, to be honest. And I think I told Chirag this as well, is that like I've played Fate before. I really did not understand it. Like this was the first time I had played it that I like rocked it like fully. And I was so into it. I was so into the experience. And so thank you, Chirag, and thank you everybody else for showing me how to play a Fate game.
Hey,
Because
I'm
I
No, you're
yeah,
welcome.
thanks. With
Very
regards
new.
to
Sounds- and they made
how
sense.
was
Very new.
yeah, well, but like it worked, man. With regards to other systems, I'm not sure it analogs well enough for me to have a direct comparison. I really like Fate for what it is, which is a narrative first game that's not very tactical. Yeah, and that's more cinematic than strategic. And so I really like Fate for that. If you're looking for something that's like more tactical, more strategic, I don't mean combat. When I say those words, people immediately go to combat. We had a shit ton of combat. None of it was tactical. It was all cinematic. So when I say tactical and strategic, I mean like thinking about your modifiers, thinking about like physical distance, thinking about abilities, thinking about the battle map, thinking about cover, thinking about like all of these different more things that will affect your action in like a mechanical way rather than in a cinematic way. So I don't think you should play Fate if that's the kind of gameplay you like. But if you like a more narrative first gameplay, Fate, I really really like Fate. And I'm gonna think about what my second thing would be was, but I would love for somebody else to answer while I do that.
I could.
It's really nice of you to say.
No, go on.
Sorry,
Go
I'll
ahead.
just
Go ahead.
quickly say it's really nice of you to say that. Oh, I ran it well, because like the whole time I was like, oh shit, I
dude.
hope I'm teaching right, because I feel like there's a lot I'm not going in. I'm not explaining everything right, but I was like, my main focus, like they understand what
Yeah.
an aspect is, they understand what approach is, because those are the most
Yeah.
complicated things for D&D players to figure out what an aspect is. Like,
That
let's
was the
focus
part I
on that.
struggled
We can
with.
worry
That
about-
was
Yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah, that was like, once you get that, you can, of course, Fate is a narrative for first game, and it can be used for any kind of genre. And there are different versions which can make it more tactical, but it's like it doesn't need that. Once you understand aspect and approaches, are like if you're doing Fate Accelerated Edition, it's skills if you want the other one. But once you get aspects, you get Fate, and like once you get that, you can do anything with it. An aspect could be cunning politician, it can be novice airbender, it can be whatever you need it to be, and can do all those kind of games. So I'm very grateful for that. You can do a little more tactical, but it is narrative focused. Even then, it is very generous, very cinematic. It's very difficult to do gritty. You got to really like work the game to make it gritty. It can be done, but I like it because it's just like it's my anything system. Like some people use
we didn't
GURPS
use
for
like
that.
the
For me, it's
stunts and
Fate.
all too much, right?
Not really. Not we didn't do it a little bit. And basically, we had a little bit like when you do your weapon, I'd give you a +2, and when you activated, the special mode, which were like a special, basically range Yantaing up, then I would give you like an extra +2 to like make things easier to survive. But if we had a longer campaign, then I would have been like, okay, let's do a little bit like stunt specifically what you're good at. But there was like when it felt like this was something you should be good at, I was basically giving you guys +2.
Right.
But yeah, I could
That's
be
fair.
more specific with stunts.
Oh.
That was like
Right.
I think like my main thing was like, do they understand aspects? Do they understand approaches? Do they get what a fate point is for? And then I could worry about stunts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And even the mech, you can customize the mech. We were using Mechaverse Kaiju, but you can also just run it with aspects as well.
Yeah.
Or you can make it more granular, because someone like really granular mech combat. And if you like that, there's other games that do it very well. Lancer does it well. People rave about things like BattleTech. I think
Battletech,
some
a lot
people
of
like
people
that as an
I've been
RPG.
hearing a lot about. I thought of my second PBTA game, but I want Nikhil to go first.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can
before
just
I
see
talk
him
about
like
it.
The
just
chat was
revving.
going wild on pizza. Just so you know, we have a pizza game on Fate Accelerated happening with Chirag, Tan Fighter, Shiva, Ari.
It's not streamed.
Yeah, it's not streamed.
It's
It's on Discord. So if
It's
you
on
want
I
to,
was gonna
Daisies.
say my heart.
You
was
could
gonna say-
spectate it on the server.
yeah, you can spectate it, see the chaos happening. I'll be DMing the chaos.
Oh, that's
making it
awesome,
worse.
man.
Yeah, making it worse. So yeah. So yeah, just that's what
Pepperoni
what I was.
supremacy.
Yeah, I was going through because there was so many systems out there, right? So when you go through it, Fate seemed very good for a very short adventure. Like you want to play and have fun. Fate is the system that I would definitely go back to, and it's definitely the system I would choose over because I played D&D and Pathfinder first. These were the two systems I'm very familiar with, and they're very much like hey, it's medieval setting most of the time. Even if you have acquisitions incorporated, it's mostly like a steampunk setting, so it's still a medieval type. It's still that the era of the bygones fantasy that you're going with. But if you want a modern fantasy, it's always Fate. And Fate was the best suited. And there are different types as well. Fate Core, which has a far more vast skills and stuff. And then you would have accelerated. That's what we played with Razor the Yanta, and yeah, it was amazing. I was glad I was able to play with it because now it's easier to DM. Hopefully, we'll see how the chaos goes.
Yeah. Nice.
No,
Go-
oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kaz. I feel bad.
no, it's like no. If you want to go, you go. Like I don't
No,
mind.
no,
going,
no,
you know. Like, I was just gonna say I come from 5e, but there's stuff like I've wanted to take from other RPGs that I've played, like Just City Outlaws, which is also a narrative based one. And like this, I was actually talking to my friends a while in Canada about Popcorn Initiative. They do not understand it. It does not make any sense to them. And like to be fair, I explained it very badly.
Oh, good.
But
I love Popcorn Initiative.
exactly, like it feels. I think it would be perfect because I'd like to think I'm a
Yeah.
very animated and very cinematic DM with my D&D games. I'd like to think I run combat in a very specific way, and I think Popcorn Initiative would lend itself so nicely to it. And so I like when I like playing other systems, although I don't play a lot of other systems because I don't generally have the time to reach out, which is why I appreciate like. Although I put down that I was only wanting to play D&D, I was still invited to play this game. I'm glad I said yes because like it gave me Popcorn Initiative and like just these cool just narrative devices, and like that like I think is something I want to carry over to 5th edition for my games, or at least
Yo,
my
you know what I want to use
certain games.
Popcorn Initiative for in D&D specifically because everyone is so like
RPIs.
knowledgeable about like
Oh.
how to do initiative order. I want to use it in a temporal fuckery fight. Like when the time is like
Ooh.
super fucked up for some reason, you roll initiative, but like it doesn't fucking matter. Like who goes next? That's how I want to use it.
I'm writing it down. That is
Like I'm
fucking
also
cool.
writing it down because I actually have a time fuckery fight soon.
Do it, man.
So-
Do Popcorn Initiative in your time fuckery
Just-
fight.
Someone in chat
just to
asked
clarify-
what Popcorn Initiative is, so we should just kind of explain
Yeah.
that.
Popcorn Initiative is essentially the first person who goes, however that's decided, they decide who goes next until everyone's gone in the round. Then that person can decide who starts the next round, and they can pick themselves. So there is like some people were like, okay, all my friends are gonna go first, and then the bad guys are gonna go. But then they realize if the bad guys go at the end, they can pick themselves to start the next round, which means they essentially get 2 turns before you can react. So there's a little bit of juggling of whether I pass to the enemy, they pass to me, and basically see who ends the round. Because who ends the round has a lot of power, because that means they can decide
Yeah.
who starts the round. But yeah, it's much more
Also,
controlling about
you
like who
can
goes.
layer attacks. So if you're like someone that can, like for example, if you go now and you cast like entangling vines, for example, to like hold all the bad guys in place. Next is I'm gonna give it to the cleric or the druid who can cast call lightning on all the
yeah,
trapped guys.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
you can like stack your attacks in like
Mm.
a really fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous
And
way.
I think
Yeah,
more
that's-
than just strategy, also it's really good for like narrative, like
Oh yeah,
like-
it's
Yeah.
amazing for
like the
narrative.
fight narrative. But I think
Like, for like
during
specific
like our
boss
last
fights.
fight, like episode 4, like all the fights, like I really felt that. Like when it was my turn, my immediate thoughts were, okay, who can like like give the most like interesting thing to happen at this point.
Yeah, that is something that I felt was a drawback of D&D because usually when someone starts off with the initiative order, they'll be like, "Hey, I'm setting this up for you," but they'll be at the end of the order, and
Yeah.
they have to wait for so long. By that time, the enemy would have a reaction for that, and they might break out of it. So it does not mesh well when the player initially had set that up properly. So that is where Popcorn Initiative is. I feel like, and
Yeah.
why
'Cause again,
the
like
narrative came
even that
first.
D&D initiative has its own place because like yeah, in a
Right. Oh,
realistic
for
fight you
sure,
could get
for
interrupted and
sure.
stuff.
Mm.
But yes, for narrative fights and like even like like you know
Yeah.
big moments like a boss fight or something, it's
Yeah.
such a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
It's
I
very
do
good
a-
for that.
Oh.
Very good for that cinema feel of like camera cuts to here, camera cuts to this person as like the fights
Yeah.
is going down. We see who's going there, and basically the players are sort of like controlling where the camera's going at that point as something
Mm.
awesome's happening.
But
Sorry, Kaz, you were
that's
saying?
another thing I'm probably gonna like steal from Fate, team attacks.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love a group
That-
action. Love a group action.
I was gonna say like I do something similar with like special attacks with my groups in.
Yeah,
5e.
exactly.
That's
But
the
I
self-run.
impromptu those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I do a thing called Chaos Initiative, where like when my players get too rowdy and RP is difficult to like work out, I make them all roll Charisma as initiative. But I think Popcorn Initiative would work perfectly for RP as
Yeah.
well.
Definitely can be. I can see charisma as initiative being one in like a social combat.
You know exactly.
But
your
that's
social
one-
combat,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
just when
Yeah,
like everyone's speaking over each other. This makes sure everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
make
That's
the
nice.
person with highest charisma start, and then it's popcorn initiative from there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Something like
That's
that.
yeah. That's like the nice thing about Fate, especially Fate Accelerate, is that the stress is the same, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, magic damage. It's all the same. You're still getting stressed out by what's happening. Some person's consequence
Yeah.
could be like, I've got a broken arm. Another one could be like, my feelings have been hurt, and that's sticking with you, or whatever. Or in your case, with soul damage. Speaking of that, can I tell the funny Tan story? So Tan hadn't seen episode this one-off episode involving Kaz until 15 minutes or so, half an hour before the actual finale. So the whole week beforehand, he was messaging me privately like, "Hey, I think it'd be really cool if I died heroically as like a last stand." And I'm like, "Have you seen the Kaz episode? Just like, have you seen the Kaz episode?" Like, I'm like, "Right, have you seen the Kaz episode? Have you seen the Kaz episode?"
Wait,
But I
say
didn't
that
want to
again, sorry.
say, have you seen the Kaz episode? Have you seen it? Because he wanted to sacrifice himself, as a thing. 'Cause he didn't know you were dead. He
Oh.
didn't know you weren't
Ah.
showing up.
Oh
He didn't-
man.
And I was like, I'm
Did everyone
fine
else
with it.
know?
If
Oh,
you-
they probably watched it.
Everyone else had seen it by that point. He was the
Yeah.
last one, so I kept reminding him.
We were like
Check it
very
out.
spoiler free about our
Yeah.
emoting.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
wanted to like see like your live responses to it.
But
But
the
Yeah,
second
I
time-
I was
I-
oblivious until the day of the session.
Honestly, like when I watched it, like I'm just like, okay, so this is how they choose to tell us that Kaz isn't going to be there for the last time.
And I was actually sobbing in my bed hard because Kaz was not there, because I really wanted to establish more, we were going like really, really well, and towards the end
Mm.
is that like Dhruva was already having this conflict with his brother, and then on top of that it was Kaz leaving. I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
I know
I-
just
I was
as
just
like there was
I'm just gonna
jump.
die, and then Chirag's like,
I'm
Now you're
fine.
gonna make you feel you want to die, so there you go.
Yeah.
You will
I
emotionally
covered it
die.
up. Yeah, I had to cover it up by saying like, oh, the rules of like how to do that are in episode 3.5, so check it out. And he never once said, "Oh, why didn't you just tell me?" Thankfully, because then I'd have to come with a different excuse of why he needed to watch
Yeah.
that episode.
I
he
mean,
was
I'm
like,
like, yeah, you maybe you're busy, you don't want to re-explain the mechanics again. It's already
Mm.
in the episode, so I'll just watch
Yeah.
it.
So you watch
And
it,
then-
And I
with the
show up
intent
like
of
10
gonna-
minutes before recording, just like teary-eyed. I'm like, I'm ready.
Blake today, right, guys?
I
Fine,
got
all
Rajiv
of
recording
us.
for duty. Like,
I'm ready for this fun Power Rangers inspired adventure / Voltron inspired adventure.
It helped. It must have helped him
And
to cry.
all the feelings, giant robots and big monsters have no business
for the
having
record, I
that
say,
many
like I
feelings
told you
side to
guys
it.
already, I had these.
Right. Big robots have had feelings in them since Gundam Wing. Since
I
Gundam
know.
Wing.
I just wasn't
Somehow
expecting
just
it.
having these big, highly sellable action figures and then having people can tell really personal stories inside them. I don't know why it happens, but it does. It happens.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I think
Yeah,
like Gurren Lagann, like it's the silliest mecha anime on earth, and it's also the most feelingest.
Believe in the me that believes in you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It's good
So I
stuff.
had an answer for the systems question. So like I've mainly just played like 5e and Powered by the Apocalypse, and then a bunch of like just one-page RPGs. And like I stand one-page RPGs the most.
I
But
do
like
love them.
I'm a big fan of Powered by the Apocalypse. Like I love PBTA. Like I would not say I like Fate more than PBTA, but I think like apart from Popcorn Initiative, again amazing. The aspect system, it was Very like I think I
I
don't know
think
if
I also. I think
coincidental
I.
is the right word, but
What
Yeah.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Sorry, I cut over. I wasn't saying it was.
Asis,
I
what?
personally find it a bit confusing, but go on, sorry, Aziz.
yeah. No,
Sure.
so I'm not sure if coincidence is the right word, but like basically, like so just like a couple months before we started Blades of the Yanta, I bought a bunch of RPGs through like those bundles and all that on it, and immediately like all the ones where you had this thing of aspects like drew me to them. And I haven't played any of them yet, but I started reading through all of them. So like there's Lady Blackbird, there's Wilderway, there's all these bunch of things. And then so the RPG that I was developing for the Pride Jam entirely just based on this aspects thing and all of that. So when I found out that I get to play Fates and that Fates also runs on aspects, like that was like really nice for me. Like get to kind of experience that a bit more.
Nice. Anything to help. Anything to help the game
Yeah.
jam.
Like-
Kat, you're still confused by aspects?
No, yeah, it's like it's a bit on and off, but like it's like I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. But, like it's not some super stressful because I still like it. Never like
that was my experience the first time I played Fate. Like
Hmm.
I didn't super get aspects.
So
So I'm with you, and I wish I could explain to you, but I am not good
yeah,
at that.
it's 'cause, like it doesn't like it doesn't slow down the game for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
I can explain
actually,
the-
Asis, to your point about PBTA, I remembered my second thing about PBTA, and this not like a dig or anything. Like I used to love PBTA, but like I find the more I am getting exposed to different kinds of narrative mechanics, I find myself slowly kind of falling out of love with the system. I love the worlds that the games are in. Like I think that the settings themselves are kind of unparalleled for most games. But like mechanically it's just it isn't resonating with me like it used to. And like the second thing that I was thinking of, and I'd love to get your take on it because you're like PPTA so much, um partial consequences. And like partial consequences or partial success or whatever you want to call them. Basically in PBTA you roll 2d6s for pretty much anything. Sometimes you have a modifier of between like -2 to +2, or I can't remember, but it's basically like a small range that you can add your modifiers in. And if you got a 7 to 9 on your roll, on your action, you get what they call a partial success. Now this I find really comes down to the GM. And Chirag, you did this so well, and it's something that I aspire to do. Is when a PC partially succeeds on something, the reason they partially succeed isn't because of their own competence and capability being lacking. It's because of some random environmental factor in the universe impeding them. And like I find that most PBTA GMs kind of gravitate towards like, listen, you didn't get it as well as you did because you just didn't do it as well. Because honestly, that's like the easiest and most natural thing to do. Is like, yeah, you tried it didn't work. Like that's a really normal thing. But like when basically every action can have that, like you tried but you kind of sucked at it, so like it just by the end of the game you're left not really feeling like a badass. And honestly that's very anathema to how I run games. How I run games is that all the PCs are badasses and all the NPCs react to them accordingly, either with like fear, with love, with like whatever it is. But like if you're playing a game where like your capability as a PC is being whittled away slowly through the game, I like that's the part that I'm not able to like that's the part I find is getting away from me. And that partial success thing is a central mechanic of PBTA. So I think that's a reason that I'm kind of not loving it as much as I used to. And I used to love it. But I again, like, that's like a GM thing. I don't know if that's a system thing.
I
I
think
think
it's
so.
very like a GM thing because
Yeah.
and I know like so like I've only run PBTA like one Monster of the Week mystery. I definitely struggled with that. I think like
Yeah.
partial success, it like for a GM, it definitely takes you a bit to figure out how to do that properly because like you're saying, the player characters are badasses and like in fact, like every single PBTA rulebook, there's a section where like the first thing it tells you to do as a GM is be a fan of your players. I've seen this in every like Monster of the Week, Mask, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, all the ones I've read so far. They tell you to be a fan of your players because your players are badasses, their characters are badasses. So I think it is a lot about learning to use those partial successes and not make it just be that okay, you didn't do this right. Like um it can also just be consequences to your actions and kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
manipulating destiny in that sense with the dice that like yeah, okay, if you had rolled a 10, then you you were just lucky enough that your actions that you did this thing and there were no consequences, but roll low
Yeah.
and there are consequences to your actions.
Yeah. I think.
I like. Sorry,
No,
go,
no,
Kaz.
you go.
I like PBTA games mainly because they've inspired like other games, which I think do it very interesting. Like they inspired Blades of the Dark games. They've inspired City of Mist, which have like interesting elements about it. But the partial success is like, it's especially when it's not given. I like to, which I think I stolen. I may have taken them Fate. I may have taken something else. Is I either do. Is I like to see like you might have you're on the urge, you're on a maybe kind of thing. The question is like so it's usually like success with a cost. It's not that you were incompetent, it is that what you're doing because it required a role was going to be difficult anyway. An ordinary person wouldn't have been able to do it. Most of the time when I'm role playing, unless we're doing something where the players are supposed to be incompetent people, like inspectors, for example, where you want to be Ghostbusters and you're expected to be incompetent, even like a level 1 adventurers are expected to be good enough that they think, yeah, I could fight a monster. I could make that my job. They have to be at least somewhat competent or at least somewhat insane, but still competent. So it's like I like to do succeed with a cost, or even just like offer that, like, hey, it's very difficult, you could fail, but if you really want this, it's going to cost you this. Like you could really make that jump and land the other side, but you could twist your ankle, or it'll cost you stress, or someone heard you when you landed on the other end, but it's not as quiet as you wanted, but it's a difficult situation. And yeah, so like it's not that you were bad; it is like you're doing something tricky anyway. But I like how other ones. I like how they like in things like City of Mist, so like they be very clear what a partial success is. City of Mist, they say what a partial success gets you. Masks, they tell you what a partial success is to you. Blades in the Dark, they have loads of layers of like how difficult this scenario is, what is the effect, all these kind of things. So it's a little more complex, but it also gives you that granularity. So I think that's so. Yeah, I like PBTA because it's like inspired a bunch of like more things. Iron Sworn, this, City of Mist, all
That's
these
a
like lovely
great
different
point.
things. Right?
Great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like
Because
another tool that PBTA uses, which actually makes it kind of more laid out to do this, is like giving the GM like an idea of what kind of moves they can use.
Yeah, definitely,
And
it's very
so, like,
helpful.
yeah, so one thing you can always do with the partial success is, okay, you did this, but it gives me a narrative moment to use one of these moves against you. And like Thirsty Sword Lesbians has a very useful page where they even have like some moves listed out, suggestions for specific like the classes.
That's
Which
awesome, man.
kind
I
of-
desperately want to play that. Is like, have you played it?
I
Is it good?
desperately want to run it. I've literally been just sitting on it for like
I will
a
happily
month
play
at this
your
point.
game.
Yes, please do it.
I want to play in that game at some point. I always miss my opportunity to
If
try
you have
it out.
debs on my games, I get debs on yours. It's just how it goes.
Honestly, like
Uh,
Dan, you have the advantage of being in my city, so you can just come to one of my physical Thirsty Sword
Yes.
Lesbian games. But
nice.
yeah, I'm definitely
Uh,
gonna run it on the ACs hopefully very soon. But like play it,
Amazing.
so like
I'll
with
be a
lots of great games on the server. Join us.
I'll be a
Find it.
BBEG and piece.
Oh, also like for my
Nice.
end of that question, because like this was my first time playing Fate, really. But I'm also very similar to that regarding to Kaz, like where 90% of my gaming is done through D&D in that sense. Like it's heavily homebrewed, but it's still like D&D at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
I what I like about stuff like this, like with like you guys had by the apocalypses, like partial successes and stuff. I think it's more so just a GM thing, like where like when you play with the GMs who have played other systems, or like you like learn other things from different game runners, like you find that like they have like a lot of different styles, and I think a lot of good GMs have this thing where they use they use with like their successes and failures. It isn't always just you're great, you're amazing, or oh no, you're shit. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. You're you're bad, you fail. It's the
It threw me off. I'm so sorry.
no, because like I don't like everyone's really like it was like all professionals or like normal, and I accidentally throw that in there. I'm so sorry.
I've said fuck twice.
You
It's fine.
Have you? I haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it.
I've said it so many
Okay.
times.
Clearly, Kaz wants to institute that if you swear, you have to give a sub. So we're going to institute that rule. Right? No, I'm kidding. I'm going to do that.
I mean,
I'll
I
have
would
to
like
leave
to
right
institute
now.
that, actually.
Put a
Yeah.
sub in the jar.
Every
Just
every
swear
time
jar.
I swear or
Yes.
someone else swears, you got to sub to Desi. I don't make the rule. I'm sorry.
Don't make the
Yes,
rules.
I'll
yeah.
help you. I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that. Fuck. And I'm going to do that now. I'm already subbed.
Amazing.
Shit. Wait. Do
There we
we
go.
have to sub?
Yes.
I thought it was chat. No, I thought
Why do you
chat to
think
sub,
I
not
stopped
us.
talking?
Cat has to. Yeah. It's the person who swears. Anyway, we're not actually doing that. That was just a bit of a gap. We're actually
Alright.
doing it. All right.
The counter running through Kaz's head right now.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
all my commission. I'm gonna get all my commission back with all the swearing Kaz is doing. The art pays for itself.
I got a meme for this. Give me a minute.
But yeah, for me, it was first time playing Fate. It was I've done a bunch of PBTA, like now finally, but even then, like a very like heavily like narrative driven experience can be found in PBTA, but a much more cinematic experience can be found in Fate. Is the thing, and one thing I noticed again, not because I experienced it, but because I observed like Chirag just playing, was that I feel in Fate, like like compared to PBTA, the DM or GM has way more agency. Weirdly enough, because in PBTA, what I felt is that the players like drive the narrative back, and then like the DM has to like yes and it,
Yeah.
and obviously there are limits the DM can put, but in Fate, the DM still has mechanics they're working with on there, and there's a certain level of a gameplay system on their end that they're using to drive the narrative. That was again like because I mostly DM, I always see it in that light first, and I'm like, a system where it's purely open narrative allows for a certain level of games and certain type of genre of games to be played, which is what PBT is amazing at. But with Fate, you can like run these more like linear and cinematic experiences while still giving the players the kind of agency they would have in PBTA, if not all of it, while giving the DM some more choice and control on that. So it was a very cool
Like,
experience, and I'd probably run Fate because of this now.
yeah, Fate is fun because one thing, like, thanks to Chirag for forcing me into DMing Fate because of a bet that I lost. Like we all lost, but yeah, except for Chirag. So I'm when you're
I didn't
looking
lose any
at-
bet.
you are in it anyway, so it's fine. So what happened was that when you look into the eyes of like the like in if you want to be like a D&D player and you want to try Fate core is pretty good. Like it has like the very extensive skill sets that you need to try out and go with like, hey, I want to have like somewhat of I want my various set of skills, and I want to play around with my character more, customize my character more on how I want to act on it. And then if you go want something far more simpler, and this is good for new DMs, Fate Accelerated, the best. It's like it's so simple. Their skills is just cut down to 5 essential ones, and that's all you need for any scenario. It's amazing.
Yeah, we've got about 25 minutes left. I hope people are still watching. But yeah, do we have anything else about the game, the campaign? Yeah,
I do.
Gaz has a hand up. Go on.
I have
go
one
on.
for Chirag. How did you approach like trying to keep the story within 4 sessions? And like, how did
Ah,
you, or 4.5?
So for this one, because it spoke about, even though it was an alternate history, so some things were different, like, having an underground and mechas existing and all that, and kaijus. It's still fairly similar to Indian history. So I wrote out what the adventure plan was, what was like the aim for each session, and showed it to Indrani and Shubham, see what they thought, elucidate me on like if there's something I missed, like something that could be offensive, and they said no, it's fine. You're not too offensive. I'm like, yay, only your face. Oh, but then so once I had that, I had basically planned out the different kind of set pieces I had in mind, and then I was like, okay. And then I would also like think if something goes on too long in one location, then I know what I need to remove, what kind of things to happen. It happened a little bit so it's like I was keeping in mind I would try and like encourage you guys to move forward, but if it was like, no, we're enjoying this scene, we're enjoying this bit, I'm like, okay, let me remove stuff from the further on ahead so we can at least get to the important bit, which is fighting the big bad guy, meeting Otto's brother, speaking to Emperor Ashoka's ghost in Nepal, all those kinds of things. And then, but of course, there were like moments which were like you sort out, like, okay, I desperately, I thought like the party was only going to be like a minute or so, and the on the roof party, I thought, okay, that'll only be like a minute or so. It's going to fade to black. And said, no, we cut the intermission as you punching Bezra's face down and the teeth flying across all. It's the explosion of light, and it's just like good times. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. He did basically ask for it.
I'll do it like a million times over. If you give me the same scenario, I would just do it again and again. It was fun.
I like how that like felt like that was the turning point, I think, for the entire campaign.
Yeah, like that felt like the highlight of the whole campaign for me was that like the fight at the party.
Definitely, because that was like very much player driven. Like that was like the players all making a choice together to stand together. Everything. It wasn't like that wasn't part of the linear journey. That is something you guys kind of like sort out and like no, rip up the poster, punch you in the face, take down these guys. You don't go after our uncle like that, and then don't go after any of us like that. And it was nice. It was a nice joining experience. So that was like that was it. I was like, this is an important moment. Wasn't planning on it. Let's do it. And so I just basically like removed things ahead, like a Jenga block. Like, okay, we don't need these. I don't have time for these things. And then sometimes I'd beg Shubham, can we go have an extra half hour, please? And then sometimes it would rush because like at the end of episode 3, any astute watchers looking at my face going like, and we ended because episode 3, I was supposed to kill Kaz, his character.
Yeah, I remember.
Well,
I remember that. I remember
Again,
you were like going
maybe a
head
Freudian
palming
slip.
yourself.
Yeah. I was supposed to kill him, and you guys were okay. I got to figure this out because we were going on. Yeah.
I was like waiting on bated breath the entire episode. Like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? And then you completely missed
the scary
it.
part.
Well, I'm glad you did because I think the extra episode we did was very much a good addition to the story. I think personally.
It showed how evil my the brother character was, so that also motivated slightly as a player for me, but not for much as for Dhruva because Dhruva's just lost 2 brothers in one go, so that was the thing. And then it just had to be an anchor point for Dhruva to move forward.
Exactly.
It's like plot-wise also, it was a big binding moment for so many of the characters then.
Yeah. And even though you beat the big bad, because that guy is still out there, it means if we ever do a season 2, I have a thing I can pull on you guys, someone you all can hate and like drag you on along there. So you had someone else you want to ask a question, Kaz?
I did. It's on that same tangent. Did I break your hearts? And this is to everyone.
Yes, man.
Like a lot.
Dude, really? Should I say
I think
I was
go
ready
back
to
that
plus 6 consequence
authenticity.
yeet myself in the last encounter just for the sake of it.
Just for the
Get
sake
it.
of it.
Get it.
We didn't have enough.
Yeah. Counterpoint, did episode 4 break your heart, Kaz?
It did. I missed playing with you guys so fucking much. Oh no, I have to stop again. But yeah, no, it did break my heart. And just like seeing you all, like then how like at the end when all our mechs came together, and like all the little things, and it was
The second I used that little lightning bolt to like make a
Mm.
sword, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
I need to do this.
it was.
Did you know that? Did you know the key was going to be a Megazord? I mean, a Great Yanta.
So here's
pick
my
up.
plan for that.
I'd say-
I was just in the mech. I had the thing. I was like, we're gonna Megazord later. Right now, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna use that to get my lance to be all lightninged up
Mm.
with Kaz, and I was gonna use that to make a difference. You're like, initiate combination. I'm like,
Oh.
Damn.
Like that just kind of opened my. Imagine like you just like pass that lightning bolt around and doing like a combo attack together, like all the sort of like lightning and
yeah.
used for a hot second. That would be pretty cool. But I still think the end result was just as cool, if not cooler.
Like I was
I-
about to pull my lance. I'm like, I have a better weapon now. They just pull the other.
Yeah, I think like in Power Rangers, the moment you said like key, the moment you like before we'd gotten in our mechs, the moment you gave me the key, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the Megazord
Yeah.
thing.
Nice.
Two shots,
Yeah.
sorry for my own good.
Yeah. Each of the
Oh,
While
Yantas.
the side story for me was not, it was like not like surprise for me. The key was a surprise. Like that was like whoa moment for me.
Oh.
The Yantas
I-
had like different
asking-
stage modes, but I went with Lightning because White Yanta is in charge. So I was like, but there were 4 other modes depending
Yeah.
which was the main guy in charge. Like some
Yeah.
Megazords, I think Ninja Storm does that. I don't really remember.
Mm.
Sorry,
Like
saying something,
maybe
Tan?
slightly, but like there are, I think some of the later seasons do that a lot.
Yeah, I think maybe Wild Force. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's one of
I
them.
don't. Yeah, Wild Force is before Ninja Storm. SMA
Yeah.
Chirag, come on, come on there.
Yeah.
With your Power Ranger
My
knowledge.
only like
I've lost my
thing was that-
marbles.
Put your socks up, Chirag. Like,
my question was just to Chirag, like, was there any like particular bit of content that you were really looking forward to that we missed?
Was there anything?
Good one.
I would have had like if we had been able to like if spend a bit more time in Nepal, if we got to Nepal early in episode 2, we would have had more training sequence. Going on with the monkeys, with the things. I would have had like more stuff going on. I had like plans of
Mhm.
doing like Ashoka would have done like gone at all of your backstories, gone on like little ghost of like things, things to fight. Would have
Oh,
had a little bit,
dope.
would have had more of that. But time, I was like, you know what? Fighting all of you getting together, beating up Professor Basra, it's good. It's like that was worth it. That was
They're
worth it.
cathartic.
That was your team up training. That was you guys learning to work together anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't need more training. He's fine. Ashoka's going to see this. Like, yeah, you guys have got this sorted. You've jumped the class.
You did mention that you picked this time period for a reason, but I don't think we talked about why.
Oh, yeah, I picked this time period because there's the great trains happening, but also mainly the Smiling Buddha event in 1974 because this is a timeline
Right.
where nuclear war didn't happen. Nuclear war did happen, but like nuclear energy is not as important because Japan has created these sun energy atoms, which they can use instead. So it's like to solve the energy crisis, which means that doesn't happen. But that area is still there. So in my mind, that's going to happen. You guys travel all the way from Bihar to Nepal to Delhi, all the way to Rajasthan, basically going all across, and then you're ending up there for the Smiling Buddha in these Buddhist-inspired mechs. And I just like this cross between this historical religious significance and mythological stories combined with like a very modern event. I thought that'd be a nice mixture while also being very tied to that time period. So I was like, that's very fun. That's very cool. And I wanted to be able, it never came up, but I wanted someone to be like, have you seen that, that Abhishek Bachchan movie, I think it was Zahir, Chains. And he has a one-shot wonder. He's never going to have another great movie. Because he's only had one. That was his only good movie at that point. Everything else, he was like wasn't that successful. So like you would have heard that. Like he could be great. Like nah, he's not going to be it. No one likes these anti-hero types. These like roguish characters. And I would have had that, but that never had a chance to come up. Yeah.
my question. Why the fuck was Ashoka a giant white gorilla?
Because I had been
Why was
saying
Ashoka
monkey
a
for
giant-
3 weeks and no one believed me.
He was a white gorilla because that Buddhist temple specifically is very dedicated to monkeys. He made lots of Buddhist shrines all over the place, including that one. So he, unlike you guys who only has one soul, he could have divided his soul in different places. So because that is very tied to that part is like more animalistic, his like protection of like silverback tendencies, all those kind of things was in that element. If you found a different shrine, Ashoka would have taken a different form because there were different aspects of his spirit because he had learned how to do it. He had that training. You guys hadn't. Maybe there's a possibility that there's that kind of thing, but like he had done it. He'd spent years. That lightning?
Sorry,
What's going on?
that was lightning and thunder. That was
The screen
terrifying.
flash was
Yeah.
terrifying.
Oh, that was real?
That was very
Yeah.
I
close.
thought
Yeah.
you were fucking around with a
No.
soundboard, dude.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Give me a second.
DC
Damn,
spirit.
God
Really,
damn.
really.
So yeah, that's why I was specifically with that player. But if you met other versions, he may act differently, and he would have because like that's how he was that composed of a Buddhist. He was like one of the reasons Buddhism spread as far as it did because of his actions. So he would have known these abilities better than other people.
Sorry, I'm
So
still
that's-
reliving that lightning. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my brother's PC just like shut down just as it happened. So I'm like, oh,
Ah,
if
that
I
is epic.
disappear, it's because it's right above me. Oh, sorry,
Yeesh.
that's actually. Oh, it's me. I forgot. Like my thing's lightning.
it is so frightening.
Has-
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Unlimited power.
Would have had multiple seasons now of us going and reclaiming different pieces of Ashoka's like domain, all his
Yes.
different
Like, that'd be
aspects.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, see what they have to say, all these kind of things. You can definitely do that.
I would love
Maybe
to
you
go
can
to
put my
Chennai.
spirit somewhere.
I would love to go to Chennai to see the Ashoka's temple just to see if it was a goat.
Yeah.
That's all.
I got like plans for like what the next one would be. Like if we did a next one and we were able to get Kaz and he wasn't busy going to Vancouver, would Kaz want to come back as DC or would he make a brand new character?
I would probably have to make a new character. Like,
Could be.
well, like I'd
Yeah.
want to come back.
Or
as
he could
well.
be
Or,
just
like,
the
a
white
spirit.
Yanta.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, it
wouldn't-
could
I
be
wouldn't say
Yanta.
no.
He's just
But I
the
mean, did my
Yanta.
spirit bond to it? Like
It
in
did
the
spawn
end.
to it, and it woke up a little bit when you guys combined. He didn't speak because I can't do your voice, but he was
Yeah,
there.
that's,
I was
Definitely.
maybe I'm
and I wouldn't
still
want to play
learning.
you.
I was
Exactly.
thinking something along the lines of Voltron, where Shiro goes away for a long time away from the team, and they had to use a copy or of a clone of Shiro, and then have the consciousness inject back into it, and have that fight. Possibly DC could be that.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
think,
Also,
like
Voltron.
SPD, like
Hmm?
the Sixth Ranger and SPD Sam is from the future, and for most of the time he's just like this tiny light that like kind of runs around, except
Yeah.
when he's in Ranger form.
That'd
Yeah,
actually be pretty cool.
that could do
We
something.
asked Tokum to make another robot body of a humanoid
Like him.
size. We convert his consciousness back into the body, and there we go.
There we go.
Okay,
He
wait,
got
wait,
Why
this.
are we
Exactly.
not
I
just
think one
having
thing
Kaz
though.
play Tokum? Like I
Yeah,
feel like
exactly.
that's the
It's Tokum to White Ranger.
What if both
Huh?
we're both fighting in the spirit?
Oh, that's
Michael?
amazing.
Tokum's the Omni Ranger. It's
amazing.
like there's like a split happening every now and then. It's DC every now and then. It's Tokum. Like just
Uh,
battle
Yeah.
mode and non-battle mode.
And
Exactly.
Rajiv can't pronounce either of their names, right?
we turned Blade of the Yanta to Moon Knight. That's what happened.
Yes.
Why not?
Nice. Yeah. Any other questions you guys have for me about anything that happened in the campaign or anything else?
Actually, we covered everything. I covered everything. What I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Did it
Mhm.
go the way you wanted? Like, did everything kind of go the way you wanted it to?
Oh,
How you
absolutely not.
feel
It
about it?
it
Did it feel good?
exceeded my expectations.
Amazing.
Absolutely
okay.
not. Absolutely not. It was like this is
That's
not
I
what I
thought
thought
you
was
were going to
happening.
be like,
but
oh,
how it
my
felt.
plans are foiled completely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was expecting that as well.
It went far beyond what I had planned. Definitely, it was fantastic having all of you guys doing all these kind of things. Initially, I was like, oh, they're not picking the right colors. Right. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so glad they didn't pick the same colors because these are not rangers. There's something special. Hashtag not rangers.
Oh god.
Good.
There is a Black
Hashtag
Ranger,
not
so I'm
Rangers.
fine with my choice.
Amazing.
Your
Amazing.
your choices are fine. The pink being the leader is also fine. That exists anyway, so that's not an issue. Sorry, deep pink.
Crimson, Vermilion.
Come on, like SMH
Magenta.
once again.
Basically reddish.
Red-ish, exactly.
Ah, yes, a proud Soviet red. Like, no, not that red.
Oh.
Oh yeah, we
man.
all assigned Maitreyi in session 07. Like, yeah, she's gonna
Yeah.
be she's
Oh,
gonna be the Red
man.
Ranger. She's gonna be the red one.
It's just, it was.
You described her character. I'm like, this has to be the Red Ranger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was
man.
obvious.
Only
s-
because I'm the door kicking character. Like that's
Yeah, I
like
mean,
let's
that's
be
it.
very clear about
Well,
that.
like-
There are no inherent.
That's not
It's a real bad idea to put Alicia in charge of anything.
But like like that's like I
The
still felt like
reason
Alicia
Rajiv
was.
there as an anchor.
I still
He
I
just
still
can't be
felt
the one kicking the door down.
I felt Alicia was the leader of the group.
Oh
yeah.
no.
I
Yeah.
also want to say I was so proud, and I still think it's hilarious that I was the White Ranger, and like I didn't like give anyone a chance to steal that from me. I was ready for that.
I
That was
love it.
amazing.
Yeah.
What
Did-
colors?
how
I
did
would
you-
like to be white, please. You didn't even finish the sentence.
That's fine. How did you feel about being assigned the leader role? Was that your intention when you made your?
No,
I
I still don't feel like I'm the leader of the group. Whenever I had a chance, I like tried to decenter Alicia because I could see that's what was happening. I'm like, no, I do not want this. And I think this is a bad idea for the group. Like,
Yeah.
Alicia does not think about consequences, man.
Mm.
Like
you
that's
have
the
your group thinking
self-insert
about
part.
that.
I think like,
Yeah, I think you
was
have
like an important part, right? Like that's why you have the rest of us to kind of ground you then. Yeah, like I mean, Rajiv would be the more convenient
natural-
choice,
Yeah,
but like I
he's
think
more
Like,
a
everyone
dad
else
than a
had, like,
leader. You need
different-
someone
But-
with a strong personality, like leading by example, doing
yeah,
the
exactly.
acts.
like
She
I don't
does
even
have
think,
that.
I don't even think it's like
Yes.
leader in the sense of like, oh, you're guiding us. Because I think everyone was very much like we kind of passed that along when we
Yeah.
needed to.
Exactly.
But like, I think
Just-
Alicia was essentially the first or the one to do the first
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's like
Alicia-
the-
Kicking down the door, man.
Just so you
Yeah,
know, this is
it's,
exactly in Voltron. Is exactly in
Yeah.
Voltron. Shiro
It's-
would go away and it'd be Alicia. Like we'd be following Alicia through.
Just kicking
Like-
down the door.
Like
I'm
Rajiv
telling
is
you,
not
that's
there.
a fun fucking character.
Alicia
Thank
kicks
It
out
is,
the
like,
door.
it was fun
Rajiv goes
watching
and
you
checks the
play.
structural integrity of the building. You know, it's like the perfect balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and like,
If you-
like that's what I was saying. Like when I picked DC, like, oh, he'll touch stuff for the convenience of the story, and like I'm glad Alicia was also there for that similar role. Like I think we kind of were on the same. Like, oh, I'll touch things because I'm curious. She will
Oh,
touch
yeah.
shit because something's fucking wrong.
And but I think that we all like it was so great. It was so great to have everybody have like and then we kind of fell into it organically, I think, having a role within the party.
Exactly.
And like the part that really sticks out to me as being like the perfect example of that was actually that like fight right before Dhruva's brother. Like right before that happened when there were all these like goons and mooks that we had to like round up
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
rid of. And that final thing, I think I got some like 7 or 8 or something like stupid on the roll. And I ended up being able to basically take advantage of all of the situations that that you guys had created. And in that moment, I was like, fuck, man, we work so fucking well together. This is stupid good.
The team play
And
was
the-
great.
Yeah,
The party
like that's,
sang at that point.
Mm. I actually like. I think that was a great moment for Asis with not Asis,
Alicia?
Garima with like her moments where like she showed that she was kind of the heart. She was trying to shield everyone and protect everyone in that moment, and I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's
that
what
It was
was so
she
amazing.
shone.
where-
She shone
Yeah.
the most there.
Or yeah, like
Yeah.
when she walked up, like she stopped Alicia. Also, like don't cross this line and shit. Like like holding people back from basically losing themselves to their anger. Like that was a way. Like
Yeah, I think that was the moment where I myself also realized that okay, Garima would not let Alicia do this. Like
exactly.
I love that. I love that.
Definitely. That was good.
Yeah.
That was like a
If it wasn't
really.
for- If it
Showing
wasn't
who's
for
who.
Garima, Dhruva, the character, would have been killed in an alley.
No, Garima
Definitely.
was definitely the conscience of
Yeah.
Yeah.
of-
Mm.
yeah.
Like that was awesome. It was awesome play. Like loved it.
Yeah. One thing I realized was I think I didn't actually directly, Garima and Rajiv did not directly talk until episode 3.
Yeah, I
Oh,
noticed that too.
serious, eh?
Yeah,
But then in episode, like, I found myself thinking, wait, I don't even know what Garima calls Rajiv. Because I just
Because
realized.
Oh, that's
episode 1 you
crazy.
had tech issues.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah, I
missed the
think-
introduction bits. And then episode 2 we just didn't have any
Yeah,
reason
we
to
just
hit
Yeah.
that.
I think that was one of my initial worries actually as the player. I was worried Karima wasn't.
Yeah.
Like almost like you weren't like you didn't have a chance to shine,
Right.
and so I was very worried about that
Same.
person.
Yeah, same here.
But I think it was
Yeah,
nice
but
to see
the
that.
tech
like,
issues were like,
Yeah.
God,
Oh,
I
I
had a
remember.
breakdown after I left. Like, I had a full breakdown, and I was very worried about like the second session, and I think like it was like a huge relief to me when we like actually started and everything kind of fell back into place. And I think that again speaks to like the dynamics and chemistry that we ended up building. That I felt very comfortable with you people. That it just kind of all that worry that I had kind of faded when I was back into like the narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chirag also like handled it very well, like
Mm.
going and disappearing and coming back and
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
That
okay.
end scene that you had where you talked about like how you didn't know if you could be violent and Rajiv's talking to you about how like that's not what we need from you anyway. Like that has
yeah.
stuck with me obviously because I'm talking about it now 3 weeks later.
Oh, I was
Oh,
so
boy.
drained after that session because like when I'm in character,
Holy
I say
shit,
these things and it
man.
like hits me back after the session. I'm like, oh
So
god, man,
heavy.
It's
The first
some good
break that
stuff.
we had on the final episode, I had to walk out just so that I could like refresh myself.
Dude, I wouldn't had a hot shower. I just like stood under hot water for like 10 minutes. I'm like, I just
Wow.
during the break.
Yeah, it was during the break. We
Oh,
got super-
after. I mean, after.
Yeah.
right after
Yeah.
I had a session, I had to DM and I was just like drained. I was still like, I had dried tears
Okay,
under my
roll
eyes.
initiative.
Yeah,
Literally, I'm like, all right, yeah, we go down to the temple.
I washed my
Please
face
roll.
like I had to. Oh god, I have to
yeah,
get
even I
dressed.
had to wash my face like multiple times during the break. Just that 5-minute break, I was just like,
And the
I
felt was
needed
not
a
enough.
drink
Like
during the break, like
I honestly, I can't understate how much like this has been like one of the highlights of like my streaming career, and also just like for this year as like a thing to have done.
this was one
You guys
time
were-
I had, like just TTRPG stuff and
Mm,
like general. like,
Yeah, yeah.
This has been
I don't
really
do a
good.
lot of content coverage, so I'm with you.
and it was like more emotional when the chat also responded. So thank you, chat. Thank you so much for that
Yay.
response. It really
Thanks, chat.
helped us
Yes.
to
It
like
adds
push
a lot, yeah.
through. It really helped us to push through a lot. So yeah, thank you.
And while this is like the end of the Play the Yanta for the foreseeable future, and we are going to miss these guys, we do have something we want to announce. What Desis&Dragons does have next. We've got something very special prepared, and I think it is going to be shared right now. A small surprise. Cue it, Shibble.